One. All yours, Rachel Ann.
Thank you so much. So I appreciate everyone being in attendance for this joint Metro Council meeting with the Metro Nashville Public Schools School Board. We are going to be talking about our capital needs and how they are assessed and planned and what that process looks like within MNPS. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for being in attendance today, particularly my colleagues. As I said, my name is Rachel Ann Elrod, and I represent District 2, which is Southeast Nashville. And I'm also the vice chair of our school board. The chair of our board is Christian Buggs, and she's in attendance, along with our director of schools, Dr. Adrian Battle, and many of my colleagues. It looks like we have Mrs. Tyler, Mrs. Cooper Walker, Mrs. Player Peters, Mrs. Buggs, as stated, Mrs. Masters, and Mr. Little. Thank you. And Mr. Thom Druffel, if you will do your introductions.
I sure will. And I'm excited that we're going to get together and get a chance to talk about, I think, all of our favorite subject, education. On the Metro Council Committee side, I'll just go down from what I see. We have Mr. Rosenberg, Ms. Porterfield, our former chair, Ms. Benedict, Ms. Evans, vice chair, Mr. Syracuse, Vice Mayor Schulman, great to have you. Mr. Cooper is on, Ms. Toombs is on our committee and finance chair, and Mr. Fisher from the mayor's office, Ms. Sepulveda, Ms. Hurt, Mr. Cash, Ms. Swara, and Ms. Hancock. So we got a full group from Metro Council and the Education Committee. This got started just a couple months ago, where we started looking at what the Education Committee does for Metro, and a little bit where we react to legislation, and in a few discussions with others, we thought maybe there's a proactive opportunity here. So I got a chance to meet with Chair Buggs and Vice Chair Elrod and Erin, myself, and we thought there'd be a value for us to get to know the school board's priorities on programs. So by the time that we get to the budget, we have a better understanding of the underlying issues and cost for the budget. You know, right now, being on budget committee, we get a large amount all at one time, and we know it's important. But I think if all of us understood and had a deeper understanding of the programs and importance of what we're doing behind the scenes, we'll have a better value and understanding of what to do with the budget. So we had a discussion, and we agreed that we would work on a meeting, highlight possibly an area of work or programs that Metro, the school board, is working on. Maybe it's literacy or whatever that might be. And we would have an hour meeting just to discuss those issues. We started out with capital needs only because the capital spending plan will be coming out soon. And I think it's important for us to have a basis of what all that, what's needed, not only now, but in the future. So that's the format. We hope to have future meetings on a regular basis that hopefully will align all our goals to do the best we can for our kids. There's nothing more important in my mind. So with that, Rachel Ann, would you like to get us started?
Sure, thank you. So as Councilman Druffel said, we are going to be discussing, of course, the capital needs of Metro Nashville Public Schools. And let me make sure that I am progressing through my screens appropriately. Here we go. These are some facts about MNPS. We share those because commonly it's stated that MNPS, or Metro Nashville Public Schools, is large, and that's a hard thing to quantify. What does large mean? One of my colleagues, Mrs. Frida Player Peters, has done a really good analogy that's helpful to a lot of people, that it's the same size of Madison County. You may know that Madison County in West Tennessee, the county seat for them is Jackson, Tennessee, which has about 66,900 people in their population. They're the county seat. They are the regional center of West Tennessee, and we are still larger than them and the county that they live within. So that is a reason why we require so much of the budget, particularly whether it's operational or capital. And the reason we're so large is, as you can see, we have an incredible amount of square footage. We have a lot more buildings than most people recognize at 183. We have 279 portables. We have over 2,000 square feet, in acreage. And out of those 183 buildings, the average facility age is 50 years. So we have a tremendous amount of capital need, not only in ongoing construction and future building, but in the deferred maintenance that those buildings have to incur, particularly with that facility age, 50 years. We get a lot of deferred maintenance. So presently, we have over $400 million in deferred maintenance, in addition to these other district-wide projects. And there's a one-pager that I will be sure to send out again to everybody so that you can have a lot of this information. It's called the MMPS Capital Needs Information Sheet, so that you can have this one-pager to review and feel like you're most comfortable with MMPS and kind of what all these facts are. One second, I want to check my screen as I have a bunch of people that are doing well as a presenter. Thank you for pausing with me for a second. All right, so let's talk about some of that deferred maintenance in our district-wide projects. What you see on your screen are numbers that we are always going to have in our capital needs requests. These are basically the minimal numbers that we will have. So let's discuss some of them. The first one's going to be school buses. So our total annual cost is about $4 million per year for school buses. The reason that that's a continual annual cost is because by state law, we have to replace them every 15 years. Now, that is not to say that we do this every single year. There have been years, which I will show you on the next slide, where we've not had the funds to replace these. And so, of course, this cost does not go away. It continues to incur. And so then instead of $40 million, the next year it's $8 million. But on a minimum basis, it is at least $4 million per year. Our technology costs continue to grow as technology continues to be important, particularly in the virtual environment. And so these are our ongoing, once again, minimal technology costs that we have within the capital budget as well. Be it student and teacher computer replacement at $8 million, from instructional technology at $10 million, and core network infrastructure at $6 million. We are very proud. We are very excited to be a one-to-one school system now. So it's one device for every student. But that will require us to continue to provide and need money to continue that process. That is not a one shot in the arm and now it's done. We're going to need to continue to prioritize that cost, and we're going to continue to ask you to prioritize that with us. Then we have these minimum annual needs for upgrades. These minimum annual needs for upgrades are where we talk a lot about deferred maintenance. And as you can see, it really quickly adds up. HVAC is obviously the biggest number with $29 million. Roof repair is what most people consider when we talk about deferred maintenance at $5 million. We have electrical at $7 million, paving at $4 million, plumbing at $4 million, and furniture. But all of these things quickly add up. It should be noted that these deferred maintenance costs come from our capital needs budget. We do not have access to what you're usually used to other departments using, which is the 4% fund. By Nashville charter, we are not able to access that 4% fund. So when you allocate an amount to our capital needs budgets, we have to use that in its entirety, not only for ongoing renovations or new construction, but for things like roof repair and buses in the white fleet, where historically your other departments that you provide capital funds for are able to access that 4%, which again, we do not have access to. So that money can go pretty quickly. Now, if y'all will bear with me, Mrs. Tyler, I can see you probably first in my square. Will you give me a thumbs up if you can see my arrow moving around in a circle? Thank you. Okay, teacher at heart. I know you were a past teacher too. So, thank you for going along with it. So here is a bar graph that you can see, of course, from 2007 to now. And as you can see, our requests for capital needs and our amount requested has grown significantly. If you those growths have happened mostly here in 2012, and that's because of the 2 years where we had no capital funds at all. So at some point, that catches up to you. So that's what happened that year. And then that continued to happen as, again, deferred maintenance doesn't go anywhere. And it continues to get worse if you continue to defer it. So we had an increase here of just ongoing trying to catch and chase those deferred costs. And then we've had some questions before from council members about how come these continue to increase. And so that answers part of it. But another part of it can really be seen here in this graph in 2018. In 2018, some in 2017, but mostly 2018, there started to become really a school board push by the members and my colleagues of let's ask for what we want, or excuse me, ask for what we need and not what we think we're going to get. In those conversations that we have internally, of course, with the mayor's office and council members, what are we hearing that we're going to receive? Historically, in these past years, we had tried to align to that kind of closely. And so we decided to be more transparent and clear with not only our stakeholders, whether they be our constituents and families, but also with you as council members in the mayor's office. We wanted to make sure that you were aware of really what was the entire picture of what was needed. And so that's why these numbers continue to grow as well. Plus, again, that lack of an access to the 4% fund means that we have more and more needs for capital funds as we have more and more roof repairs and technology needs and school buses every 15 years. All right, so let's discuss how we determine these needs. So a term that you'll hear a lot, be it from a meeting that you sit in on or when you talk to somebody here on the school board, is going to be FCI. We all live in acronym soup. So Facility Condition Index is the FCI. And we use our FCI scores on every single school to assess those buildings against the same standard. The FCI is done every 5 years. So when we do that, we use actually a third-party assessment, and that consultant does it every 5 years. And it was just done, and it will be what's used in the upcoming CIB, which is the capital improvement budget. So when we provide that to you in January, this FCI will be the most recent one. It will not be within the 5 years somewhere. It will have just been completed. Our Facility Condition Index includes several different factors, really 4 main ones. There's the building condition, and obviously what's the condition of the building, and of course the site condition. There's technology readiness, or some people call that technology infrastructure. And then there's the educational suitability of that building. So can this building still be used for educational purposes as a school is intended to be used? Those 4 things together are what create that FCI. We should be clear that the FCI is not used in a vacuum to decide and to determine these needs. It is heavily used. It is a great way to quantify the need for our schools, but we still work with other outside groups. So we work closely with Metro Planning, we work with Public Works, other people that you know like Parks and Metro Water and WeGo. We consult with all of these people when considering not only our year that we're working on, but as you may remember, we provide you with 6 years of planned capital needs. And so we work with them to provide all of that. And we consider, again, the FCI and the input from these people. Most people assume that we only plan based upon new residential developments that are coming, and that is considered. But when discussing this along with those departments, we also look into building permits and land use, any type of regressions in an area, the birth rates and any type of historical enrollment information, students per household, and any type of school choice demand in an area. Those are all considered within our needs to build or to provide an addition to a school building. I should also put an asterisk here that growth in each school is now calculated annually. So though the Facility Condition Index is only done every 5 years, which really measures what is this building like, the actual population within that building is reviewed every year. Schools that are the most overcrowded have the highest priority for additions and new construction. Buildings with the lowest facility index score, condition index, have the highest priority for renovations. And that's how we come across with that 6-year plan. Projects that are consistent with our facility condition index and utilization priorities are put into that 6-year budget. And once again, we'll be providing that to you in January. All right. We've had a ton of information. I know it was really short because we're trying to make sure that we stay close to the 6 o'clock amount. We understand that there's an ongoing budget meeting at that time. We as a board are going to be looking at our new capital needs request. We are not sharing that information with you now because it's not been shared with the board yet. And of course, it's not been approved as, again, that calendar is in January. But if you have questions or concerns about any of this or other upcoming topics, please let us know. And Councilwoman Evans, so sorry, Erin, I keep calling you Erin, Councilwoman Evans, and Councilman Druffel, is there anything that you have a question about or that you would like me to expand on?
This is Erin Evans. I guess the question kind of related to the facility condition index. We got that information when we first started, but I will tell you, I don't know where my information is, maybe from October of last year. And so is that something that we can get it again that, is relevant either countywide or to our district? Because I know that, I guess in the last capital improvements budget, it was like Goodlettsville Elementary that's in Zach Young's district that was approved to do a rebuild. And so maybe if you could speak to that process too, a little bit about like once a school is identified to be rebuilt and it goes through, like how long can we look at it taking, for that elementary school to be done and that kind of thing?
Sure. So at elementary school, and of course, Mr. Henson, if you need to cut me off or add on to what I'm about to say, please feel free to do so, of course, along with your teams and other people on here. Historically, if we receive from the Metro Council all of the funding in full, like Goodlettsville, it historically takes about 3 years. The first year is for design. We hire an engineering firm and we do all of that. And then the next 2 years are for construction. I should say for with Goodlettsville, we currently have approved the funding for design, and so we hope to get started on that soon. But not all of those funds have been unfrozen by Metro Finance. And so we have to make sure that those are unfrozen as well to keep up with that very strict timeline of 3 years. But in an ideal world, that's the shortest timeline we could have.
So, Mr. Druffel, did you have any questions, or do you want me to start recognizing people for questions?
I have a couple of questions. Thanks, Ms. Evans, but I'll defer to Mr. Cash and Ms. Porterfield first.
All right. So Thom Cash, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you. I share your concern about the deferred maintenance. I know that there are things going on in these old buildings that really need to be addressed, and I hope we can get those issues addressed as soon as possible. As someone who's been through 2 different school renovation processes and have been lately paying attention to what's going on with the Hillsborough renovation, I'm curious about a couple of things. Like when a request for a proposal goes out, I know that often there are charrettes and the community members and teachers and parent representatives are, invited to come to the charrette, and they talk about the building's needs and the building's wants. And often as educators and parents of educatees they're encouraged to dream big. But I guess I'm curious about the process of determining how much you spend on a renovation in terms of like having a list of these are the things that we absolutely need, and these are the things that, would be great and make it a better educational environment, but aren't those kind of like maintenance type things that are just so crucial. So I guess kind of balancing those things, and kind of along with that, how do you determine the difference between what's spent on building renovations versus maintenance? And does some of that maintenance come to the school when they're up for renovation I suspect it sometimes that's when it happens, and sometimes it has to happen at other times. But I'm curious how we come up with those two different numbers. Does that make sense?
You did. Oh, there we go. Thank you. I was talking to you, Councilman Cash, and I was muted. I appreciate the help. I want to make sure that I have those two questions correctly before I hand them off. So in essence, I want to know first, how do we decide what's going to be built between the big picture and what can be done? What is it going to actually be, and how do we make that decision? And then secondly, what is maintenance versus deferred maintenance? What is just what's expected and what's actually considered deferred?
Yeah, what's the difference? How do you determine what to spend on renovations and what to spend on deferred maintenance?
Okay. Mr. Henson, are you able to speak?
I believe so. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Can you or your team take those two questions?
Sure. I'll attempt to answer and then may defer to my colleague, David Proffitt, our Executive Director of Facilities. As far as how do we determine what is built? And of course, Hillsborough was a unique project, the basically rebuild of a new high school. And so we did use that charrette process, which I thought was very good and very valuable. Typically what we do is we have education specifications for each tier level of building, elementary, middle, and high school. And those education specifications are updated periodically by our instruction and curriculum and instruction staff, et cetera. And so we partner with the school principal, and the school principal will develop a team which involves teachers, parents, community members, et cetera, to work with our facilities department as well as with the architect that's been selected to determine exactly what's needed as far as that, every site is different. There may be different needs. And so there's a process involved that takes into consideration feedback and input from the school staff as well as from parents and community members. And then we rely on our architects to come back with plans. And that process can go back and forth a few times before a final design is completed. And so we do have educational specifications, and that goes into part of the facility condition index score. That education suitability part of that is related, very directly related to our education specifications for elementary, middle, and high schools. Does that answer that first question?
Kind of. I guess I know that there are schools because of the deferred maintenance number. I know that there are schools that are not anywhere close to like the present in terms of when it's going to be renovated. So I guess I'm just wondering if we not only are listening to the people in that building, but balancing the needs of what you're focused on for that year versus, another school that's got HVAC problems that are, really causing a disruption to the day. And making sure that that's not pushed too far out. Does that make sense? Like, I believe every school deserves bells and whistles, and wish that we could fund them right away. But sometimes I'm just wondering about balancing the bells and whistles that sometimes are part of the school renovations with, the maintenance needs that are getting deferred. Does that make sense? And I guess it goes to my second question, like, how do you determine what money goes, how do you determine how much to spend on renovating and how much to spend on deferred maintenance?
Sure. And we do have operating maintenance funds, maintenance operating funds for more of the day-to-day operational needs. Once you start getting into higher dollars, we don't have the operating budget necessarily to support that. And so that's when the deferred maintenance capital funding comes into play. If an HVAC system needs to be replaced or something of that nature, roof repair, major repair or replacement, that would come from our capital funding just because we don't have the operating funds to support that. And then if a school has a facility condition index score of, we typically use 70. If it's below 70, then it's a candidate for full-blown renovation. And if it's, if it's in poor enough condition, it very well could be a candidate for a replacement. Goodlettsville Elementary is a good example of that, where Goodlettsville Elementary was on our renovation list for a number of years and did not receive funding. And so at some point in time, and that's the case with Goodlettsville Elementary, it makes more sense to build a new facility as opposed to try to renovate a building like Goodlettsville Elementary that was built in 1954. It makes more sense to just request and build a new school in that case. And one thing I did want to just clarify, as Board Member Elrod said, we do have a third-party firm come in and update our facility condition index scores every 5 years. However, we do update those scores every year on an annual basis using our own internal staff. They have been trained by the third-party firm to do that. And so we take into consideration any deferred maintenance or any operating maintenance that might have been done on a school that may change a school's facility condition index score. So I wanted to be sure to mention we do revise facility condition index scores every year. And then, as was said, we have that third-party firm come in every 5 years to validate that work.
Thank you so much, Mr. Henson, for clarifying.
Thank you. Yes, and it's just one more thing. Council Lady Evans asked for if we could, I think, see the data or the spreadsheet or whatever it is on the FCI. And I'd also be curious. So does that include the capacity percentage, or is that a separate kind of piece of data?
We have one very large document that we will be sharing with the board's capital needs committee on Tuesday afternoon, which Board Member Tyler chairs that committee. And that particular document has the FCI score for all of our buildings, as well as the capacity utilization for each building. And one thing that's important to note is we rely heavily on 5-year student enrollment projections because of the time factor involved in requesting and receiving funding, designing, and actually constructing. And so we do look further down the road than the current enrollment or even the next year's enrollment. We pay strong attention to 5-year enrollment projections so that we can hopefully be proactive if we receive the funding that's requested for additional classrooms or to deal with overcrowding.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, Councilwoman Porterfield, you are next.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair, and thank you to the Chair for putting this together, and thank you to both our colleagues and the school board members for being here today. I will try to be brief. I have 3 questions, and if it's okay, I'll ask them at the same time, and you all can just answer accordingly. My first question was, what was the previous amount that was requested for the student and teacher replacement? I'm interested in knowing computer replacement, excuse me, we can't replace our teachers with our students. Computer replacement. I'm interested in knowing if that amount was impacted by the new computers that we received, like if that's a lower amount this year because we won't need to replace as many devices as we have new devices. And I think someone may need to, because there's a lot of feedback. So if you are not, if you can, it's super helpful. Thank you so much. The second question has to do with development. I've been pretty vocal with voting down developments that have a lot of density in the Southeast Nashville. And I would love to be more well-versed in how this impacts the whole city. But as far as the schools in Southeast, looking at the data, I've seen, some of those schools are at capacity or are nearing capacity. And I have concerns when we continue to add density in an area where our schools are already crowded and where our students are receiving a portion of their learning, or a good portion of their learning, in outdoor portables, which I know that you all do the best that you can with them. But from being in the classroom, I just remember there being lots of challenges operating outside in a portable as opposed to in a traditional classroom. So my question is, how do you all consider, I know you said that you have like that 5-year plan, but how, what does that correlation look like, and how can we better consider the needs of the schools when we are considering the development in our communities? I would like for us to be more proactive. Like I don't want to come to council meetings every few months and vote down my colleagues' hard work because I have concerns about the schools and overcrowding. So I would love for us to find a way to be proactive to make sure that that's being considered. And I would just love to know how you guys consider it. And then my last question has to do with the 5-year projections that you have, the enrollment projections. How is that impacted when you see a year that there's maybe an influx in charter school enrollment? How does that then impact the budget that you all have planned for? So I appreciate your time and you guys answering those.
Thank you. Ms. Porterfield, so I want to make sure that I have your questions correctly, and I think a number of these I might need to turn over to Mr. Henson. So first, let's discuss the amount requested for computer replacement and how that's going to be impacted by the COVID CARES funds. Is that the original question?
Yeah, I will.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was nodding my head and I realized you may not see me. Yes,
that's okay. Okay, perfect. Mr. Henson, if you will help with that, and then the next or two, and I can help you with, of course, what I've written.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember, for those questions. As far as the technology needs go, we're very appreciative of the fact, as Board Member Elrod said, that we have been able to become a one-to-one device to student district, which obviously means we've got a lot more devices than we've ever had, in the history of the school district. And so we are planning, as she indicated, we are planning a refresh or replacement cycle. What we're looking at present, and this will be part of the capital improvement budget request that would be presented to the board's capital needs committee on Tuesday. What we're looking at is refreshing teacher devices every 3 years and refreshing student devices every 4 years. And so, of course, to be able to do that, you have to spread those out. And so what we'll be doing is looking at, for instance, a third of the teacher devices and a fourth of the student devices, requesting funding for those each year to get on that cycle. Of course, we also have, in addition to just devices, we have needs as it relates to Wi-Fi connectivity in some of our buildings. And that gets into the infrastructure needs, the network infrastructure needs that reflected here on this slide. And so we will be taking, obviously, into consideration the CARES Act funding that we've received through both the city's CARES allocation as well as the school district's allocation when we present that to the board's capital needs committee on Tuesday. Does that hopefully answer your question?
It does. Well, it explains it, yes, but what was the actual dollar amount that has typically been associated with that line item with the student and teacher computer replacement?
That would be the number here on this slide, the $8 million per year for student and teacher computer replacement. Now,
okay, so it didn't change. It's just the same amount that you all have always typically asked for.
Now, this would be, this is a document that we have had previously, and so this number may not be exact right now. We, again, we'll be presenting that to the board. And so this is on average what we have seen as a need in the past, knowing that we're going to have additional needs moving forward with the additional devices that we have within the district.
Okay, that clarifies it. Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome.
And then the follow-up questions were about Southeast Nashville and about how does density affect our decisions when considering schools, or how could we best assist you in making those decisions? And then the follow-up to that, your third question was about 5-year projections and how that's impacted with charter influx. So, Chris, I don't know which one of those you want to take first, and then I'll fill in if there's anything that I can on the density question.
Okay, and would you repeat the first one, the first part of that again?
The second question, excuse me, from Councilwoman Porterfield was, in Southeast Nashville, obviously there's a lot of density and continued growth in that area. And so she's wanting to know if we can provide any guidance on how to best consider density votes and considering growth based upon our school's capacity in that area.
Yeah, and that's part of where we do work closely with Metro Planning. In fact, the director of our student enrollment office is formerly with Metro Planning. And so we have a very good working relationship with them. Many times they will come to us and ask for, our best estimate of additional numbers of students for different types of developments, which we appreciate them doing that. And so it's really just working with the planning department to making sure that our needs are taken into consideration when something is brought forward to the council as far as a new development goes, because it is going to have an impact on the school district enrollment. And so that's part of that process of Metro Planning taking development requests to the council. Did that answer your question? I see a look on your face that it may not have.
It does answer the question. I think this is a part of a longer conversation that probably would not be had tonight. So I will reserve the rest of the questions. I don't want to monopolize the time, but I do think that it will be beneficial if we in another meeting or another setting, we have a conversation around planning and development and how it impacts our school. But I think that it will be better safe another time.
Okay, and the second, I know you asked a part of your question was relating to charter schools, and we do take into consideration charter schools, approved charter schools, and their approved growth plan. Many times charter schools will add a grade a year until they're fully built out, so to speak. And so all of the charter school enrollment projections are taken into consideration when we look at individual school projections.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess I would like to add to that about the Southeast Nashville density question is from as official to official. If you ever have a question about those kinds of things, whether you are Councilman Porterfield or whomever, you are always welcome to reach out to the school board member within your district or to Chair Buggs or to myself. We're always available to you to help you make those decisions and, of course, provide access to information that we have and how we can be of best assistance to you. All right.
All right. Looks like Chair Druffel is next.
Yeah, thank you. There was the question I have is on the total need for the 6-year projections. So as we saw early on a graph, cumulatively we are getting farther and farther behind, but it probably doesn't tell the story of what is projected in the next 6 years. Is there something that we'll be able to see? Because as we go into these, it's good to have our eyes wide open as to really the full level of cost now and in the future. So I guess what I'm looking for is if there's a projection that we'll get a chance to see. Yeah.
Ms. Elrod, would you like me to take that one?
Please, we first might need to ask, I'm so sorry, there's a lot of feedback. So I'm not so sure I understood. I'm so sorry, Councilman Druffel, your question. There was a beep and some feedback. Can you please restate it one more time?
Yeah, glad to. What I'm looking for is we know in this slide that we're seeing that we aren't meeting the capital needs in any way or even close. But we also know it's growing, and I think it is the right idea that we look at not what you think you can get, what we need. Question is, if you take this chart another 5 years, because as I understand you take a 6-year outlook, what would that look like, and what would be required to meet those needs? I think it's important for us over time to have a bigger picture of what's going to happen. We have 50-year-old buildings, and to really have a more fundamental understanding of, not only this next year, but where are we going in the future? Does that make sense?
It does. It does. All right, Mr. Henson, I will throw that to you while I look at something real quick to see if I have an answer for it too.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question, Councilman. We do have a 6-year capital improvement budget that is approved by the Board of Education by January 31st and submitted to Metro Planning. What we try to do with that 6-year, and actually we bring it on out to 10 years, but there's a 6-year capital improvement budget requirement, and the school board will approve that by the end of January. And so that 6 years will show each year how much is needed for capital funding. What we've tried to do over time is to sort of even those out between the years. And so we don't have one year that's much higher than another year, unless there's some good reason to have that. And so that 6-year capital improvement budget request will show what the needs are over the next 6 years when the school board approves it. And we're obviously more than happy to share that with the council when that takes place.
Yeah, I just think there's a value when the time comes, because again, as you see this graph, it doesn't look pretty. And then at the same time, we know it's going to get worse and worse if we don't do something about it eventually. So I just think there's an important value, again, to bring all that to light so that we can see what we need to do going forward. Yeah.
Sure. I think we want, as a school board, and also as an entity of Metro Nashville Public Schools, we want to be as upfront and as transparent on that as well. As I said, starting in 2018, we decided to fully ask for what we thought we needed. But we have, to Chris's point, we are only required to do every 6 years, but to make sure that we are as transparent on what those are and to provide the best projections as possible to council members, we provide 10 years. So, from last year's, which I was hoping to be able to pull up real quick from my email, and I don't have it. From last year's, you can see some projections for future years. Of course, we provide in January, we'll have from this year on to 10 more years as well. So we show a projection as much as we can and try to go above and beyond to try to help manage that cash flow.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll just add, as far as that projection goes, we do try to take into consideration cost escalation in future years so that we're providing, what, based upon construction inflation, what we believe the best estimate of those costs will be for that particular year. So if something is 3 or 4 years out, obviously that's going to have a higher cost typically than it would cost today. And so we do include that in our projections.
Thanks very much.
Chair Druffel, does not appear that there are any more questions in the queue.
Thanks, Councilor Evans. I would just like to summarize a couple things. One is I'm hoping this is the first of many meetings, and I think there's no more passionate group of people that's on this call. And if there's anything any of us can do, and if we align it together, I think we could be dangerous in getting things done. So my hope is that we have great discussions over the next few months, and that we can all align and make sure we do the right thing and take care of our 85,000 kids to create success. So I'm open in any way from our side. We have a great Metro Council and very passionate educators. So if you could let us know going forward, I think Rachel Ann had some ideas on subject matter, but it's better to have the subject matter of all of your interests eventually and prioritize those. So if you have interest of a particular subject that you think adds value and that would be good to understand that program and the cost, I think that's where we could start setting the agenda against that. So we're looking to do this again on a monthly basis for as long as we can. Again, improving our understanding. So if there's any suggestions, I think that'd be great, or ideas. But I think Chair Bugs last time gave us some ideas, and Rachel. And so glad to have you all on the call, and I'm hoping again that this is one of many.
Mr. Chair, it looks like Thom Cash has his hand raised. I don't know if that's an old hand or if it's new, but I did miss it, so I want to recognize him.
But you know,
Thank you. It's new, and I don't.
Oh, it doesn't say hand twice. Okay.
No others up. And this is just like from my own memory, and like when he was answering one of my earlier questions, Mr. Henson talked about how some maintenance can be taken care of in the operational budget and then much of it is in the capital budget. And I'm just trying to remember exactly, like it seems like there's a number that if a piece of hardware or something, whether it be technology or HVAC or something, is supposed to last for a certain amount of time, then it's categorized for capital. And if something is like used for a shorter amount of time, it's operational. Is there some sort of number as to what goes into what maintenance is spent in an operational budget versus a capital?
There's not a tried and true, I guess, dollar figure. We purchase all of our computers with capital because we don't have access to the 4% fund. Computers aren't that expensive today, and so when you're talking about student laptops, it's not something that typically would be a capital purchase, but that's our only source of funding for that. And so there are things that typically other Metro government departments might use their 4% funding to accomplish the lower dollar things that we only have the capital funding as the source of funding for those. And so with a fairly limited maintenance operating budget, if something starts getting up, into the $100,000 range, we're going to attempt to use, if we have it available, attempt to use deferred maintenance funding, capital funding. But not to say that we haven't done some projects that were over 100,000 with operating funds because we didn't have the capital available. And so there's, as you said, there's typically, a dollar figure and a useful life that goes into consideration when something is capitalized. But quite frankly, we've just been trying to do the best we can with what we have. And so many times those capital purchases may have different funding sources particularly for other Metro government departments.
Thank you for clarifying.
All right, Mr. Chair, I do not see any more hands.
And if there's any more questions, or if you have questions that follow-up questions, as I understand, you can just forward them, and we'll pass them on, and we'll look forward to the next meeting. Otherwise, meeting adjourned from my stand. Any other comments or questions?
We appreciate everyone's attendance, and we understand there's a 6 o'clock meeting, so wanted to hopefully give you a little bit of a cushion.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice evening.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.